afternoon. I am Edie Cay. I am here with Paper Lantern Writers. We are doing a live with author Vanessa Riley. I'm very, very excited to have a chat with her. I don't know if you've had a chance to read any of her books. Her latest, Island Queen, I just finished reading it. It is fantastic. I highly recommend it. We're going to get into the depths of Island Queen. We're going to talk about historical romance. We're going to talk about historical fiction. We're going to talk about the journeys of self-publishing versus traditional publishing. There's so much to talk about. And I want to make sure that I give her the proper introduction. So if you guys don't mind the fact that I'm going to be reading here just from a piece of paper real quick, because I don't want to mess anything up. Vanessa Riley is an award-winning author of historical fiction and historical romance, showcasing the hidden histories of women of color and emphasizing strong sisterhoods and dazzling multicultural communities. Her novels pull heartstrings, elicit laughs, and share insights into the diverse history of the Georgian, Regency, and Victorian eras. This Southern Irish Trini girl holds a doctorate in mechanical engineering and an MS in industrial engineering and engineering management from Stanford University. Vanessa also earned a BS and MS in mechanical engineering from Penn State University. Her research skills have helped NASA, GM, Hewlett-Packard, and several startups. Her love of history and lattes overwhelmed her passion for math. How is that possible? And led to the publication of over 20 titles. Her works have been reviewed by Entertainment Weekly, NPR, Library Journal, and the New York Times. She's received starred reviews from Publishers Weekly and Booklist. Her latest releases are Island Queen, An Earl, the Girl, and a Toddler, and A Duke, the Lady, and a Baby. Vanessa is president of Regency Fiction Writers, a member of NINC, the Historical Novel Society, and on the board of directors of Christian Book Lovers Retreat. She's an avid baker who loves creating her Trinidadian grandma's cake recipes, which I bet are delicious. You can find Vanessa writing on her southern porch with proper amounts of caffeine. So I hope everybody, you can give me a warm, help me welcome Vanessa. Thank you so much for being here.
Edie, thank you for having me. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So one of the things that we were talking about before we got started was, well, basically me fangirling out here a little bit about Island Queen. And one of the other things about Island Queen, like just to start from like the top in here, this cover is incredible.
Isn't it great? That's William Morrow has exceeded my expectations, and that was the COVID miracle. We'll put it that way. Because the original way that they were thinking was they'd actually contacted a model from Maserati, and they were going to do a live in-studio photo shoot, garments, the whole 9 yards. And then COVID shut down all the studios, so they had to change directions, and they decided to go with a graphic artist out of I believe Michigan, Tanya Engel, and she just did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, because it is breathtaking, eye-catching. And I feel like once you read Island Queen, it feels very, very much like Dolly, like Dorothy Kirwan, like this, Kirwan Thomas. Yes, that's her last name. Sorry, because at the end, it's really important.
It does matter what you call her.
Yeah, it does. As she says, those S's are important. Which I get that. I get it. I cannot say how much I adored this book. So one of the things I really want to talk about, because I think that as an author, this is so hard to do, is that from the get-go, Dolly has this sort of, sorry, I'm refer to my notes because I jotted down a bunch of them. This massive cognitive dissonance in her head, where she knows that the reality is not what she's experienced. So like I'm just going to do a little, this is not really a spoiler because this happens in the first 10 pages, so no one can get mad at me. So it starts when she's a 5-year-old girl, and she is mad at her mother for not being kinder to her dad, to Pa. And that is why, obviously, in her 5-year-old mind, why Pa must not be around. even though as a reader, we understand that she is enslaved, her mother is enslaved, and her pa is a white plantation owner and is away because of a blockade and trading. And this is not this is not an okay situation, to put it mildly. But her little 5-year-old brain
Yeah.
can't process it that way. And you manage to show this, which is so hard to do, to be able to show the reality and the way the character is experiencing things without having to do this whole like, oh, now I'm older, now I'm younger. Like, you really managed to stay in that viewpoint. So I know this is sounding a lot more like a comment than a question, but I mean, really, how did you do that?
um, Part of it is I had read a lot of documents on the perceptions of children versus various ages, because I love to put children in my books. I'm kind of like a community writer, so there's the adults having their action and children, and so I did a lot of things of what are the natural state of being for a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old child, what they can absorb and what they can't, and you kind of bound yourself in that thing, but at the same time, children are truth tellers. So they may not understand what they're saying exactly, but they're going to describe exactly what they're seeing. And there's also a protective measure of, let's make it in a way that I still have some control. Let's make it in a way that it's still not as horrible. So you get this little girl who, in my opinion, she had to have something driving her, letting her know this, even though it was okay, this wasn't the end all, that she needed to be more. She had to have more. So it was balancing all of that, but keeping yourself trapped in a 5-year-old's head, a 5-year-old's mind. How are they going to be conveying thoughts? What are they going to be saying? How long even they pay attention to things? Because, boom, 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 and shouting on that. And I worked at it, because it's hard to write a child, because you have grown up thoughts and you want to just lay it out there, what's happening. So but to me, it was very important for the reader to be there, because you have to see it through her eyes. Part of humanizing her journey is putting you in her feet, in her shoes or sandals, whatever she may be doing, and letting you walk around and seeing the world as she does. Because, kids, they look at the good first. They want the good. Everybody wants their mom and dad to be together. But she's looking from her hut, and she knows dad lives in the owl house and we live here in the hut. And although our hut might be the best hut on the plantation, it's still a hut.
It's still a hut.
It still has ants. It still has leaks and all these different things that happen. And it was hard. I will tell everybody, writing in that perspective is hard, but I needed you to see her journey so that you felt her move and grow and get knocked down. But it's still, even in the points where she's getting knocked down, you see how far she's come in her journey.
Mm-hmm. That is actually one of the things I really enjoyed about being in her perspective, is that even when she'll say it, this is not a good idea. And I know what I'm doing is probably wrong, and I'm going to do it anyway.
I didn't want to make her a saint. And from the record, she's not a saint. She's a human being with flaws, and she did stupid stuff. I mean, there was sometimes I was even like, really? Really? But I'm a stickler for this historical record. If she did this decision, because I had a friend who was like, 10 children's a lot. Can you cut out some? I can't cut out these kids.
Well, and holy cow, what that does to your body. Like, but they
all still kept wanting her, so she must have bounced back.
She must have. Oh my goodness. So the other thing you put in there about the 10 children that I think is really for me. So I had I only have one, so she's got 9 on me.
She
But
got that on me too. I only got one too, so
yeah,
I'm good.
yeah. uh, but you talked about the birthing sadness,
Mhm.
and as someone who also experienced a lot of postpartum depression and anxiety, and in a way that I couldn't even self-identify. I didn't even know it was happening. I had to have other people be like, "You are not okay." That was really important because I think it would be really easy to just say, "Oh, look, she had 10 kids, so obviously it was super easy for her." Um,
Mhm.
but you added that element that I feel like is really a real way to discuss motherhood.
Yeah,
Like, it's not easy.
Dorothy didn't leave a diary, so I have no first-hand accounting of whatnot. But to me, you're newly freed. You're still there's part of your mind is always going to wake up and wonder, was this a dream? Am I still enslaved? And when you look at the women of West Indies, their birth rate is lower than any other place that had enslavement during that time frame.
Hmm.
That could be because of, some of that might be because of the conditions. There was lots of different diseases, etc., happening in the West Indies that didn't happen other places. But it's also studies are showing that some women took matters into their own hands and said, I don't want to birth this child into enslavement.
Yeah.
And so you look at all these things, and in my process of making sure she's not deified, she's not given superhuman grace, um, that she was, I wanted every time she had those children, that you felt the sacrifice of having that child and the fear she had, because I think she had a fear of either herself or her children being re-enslaved. I think
Yeah.
that was one of the driving things that I just sensed from putting the pieces of her life back together. And so you have to, for me, that was a way of nicely packing it in, so to speak, and reminding you once again where she came from, because I think those are struggles every time she had a child, or even when we have our children, the fears of what kind of world am I bringing this child into? Are they going to be safe? And the postpartum is what was my way, the authorial intrusion into her narrative to give
Mhm.
you that piece. And I think it resonates for women. Our reproductive history is our history. And that's one of the ways I put together her life, because I found, birth records in Grenada or Dominica or in Demerara, which is present day Guyana. And you thread this together and you're like, wait a minute, there's 1,000 nautical miles between here and there. What would make a woman go these various distances? Particularly like when she goes from Dominica to Grenada, she had successful businesses in Dominica.
Yeah.
Amazing. But once again, when you get that over narrative of the children and when they were birthed and where they were birthed, you figure out, this other narrative, and there's a mother's narrative, I think, woven into this story, because
Oh,
I think
absolutely. Yeah.
that was one of her themes. That is Dorothy. And so once again, to answer your question in a very long roundabout way, that postpartum for me was my way of just reminding you the sacrifices and the struggles that a newly freed woman would endure or think about or worry about every time she had a baby.
And you have in there the peacock flower
Mm-hmm.
as a way to not infallible, but as a way to manage your pregnancy.
Fertility.
Yeah, your
Yes.
fertility. So, is that accurate? Historically accurate?
Yes. Yes. And the peacock flower is the flower of Barbados. It's a Caribbean flower. I literally had found it because I think some of my research had taken me. Scotland there was some research, and when I looked at this flower, I was like, I've seen this someplace before. And then you route it through, and it's like, that's the pride of Barbados. That's and then you find out this flower is in these various colonies. So, you know, uh, talk amongst, herbal medicines was very big in the West Indies. Talk amongst them, and it's particularly since it is a rape culture. during the enslavement time frame, women tried to do whatever they could to minimize their fertility, to minimize some of the ramifications of the colonial society they're living in.
Yeah, when you have so little control, like if the only control you have is over the consequences to your body.
Exactly.
Ugh, oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, and so you touched on this other thing that, so in your author's note and in the book, you make it pretty clear that she is, Dorothy is functionally illiterate. So she doesn't have written documents. She doesn't have a diary. So you talk about like piecing together the birth records and where they were born, but was there like one particular piece that was the best you could find, like the most telling?
It was how other people described her in their letters. So with Prince William Henry, which is really how I found her, his friends was ratting on him, right? So, Prince William Henry is the sailor king. So he's commanding frigates. And when he gets to the West Indies, he loses his freaking mind. He is partying so hard in Jamaica, they break a brothel. First of all, I'm like, how do you break a brothel? But he breaks the brothel, chairs, everything, because they're drunk. And they break it so badly that he is apologetic the next day. So he pays for the damages in this brothel. And so you get this record of him partying in all these colonies until he gets to Dominica. When he gets to Dominica, his friends again, men ratting on men, he's with that woman again. That mulatto woman is a handsome woman. And then you get the name, he danced again with Dorothy Kirwan at the Rousseau Mulatto Ball. So I had a name and you start researching, but it's these anecdotal letters. One of the best letters was a gentleman who knew her from Demerara. He goes, I saw Doll Thomas in Glasgow, meaning Glasgow, Scotland, last week. And she was with her 17 grandkids.
Oh my God.
For those watching at home, Demerara is present-day Guyana, which is below the equator.
Yeah.
So she put 17 grandkids in a boat, and they went all the way up to Glasgow, Scotland, and they're just chilling, walking the streets. And people are like, hey, that's Doll Thomas. The woman was famous in her time frame.
Wow.
And so you get these little anecdotal letters here. Her will is hilarious. It's archived in the UK. And you can see how many times she went and cut people out and added people and things like that. I mean, she was, so you get this record. And some of these other anecdotes are that she had a scribe who followed behind her to write down her thoughts, but we can't find any of those letters. But there's all these little venue stories that you get from other people talking about her. That it's you get this picture of this very fabulous woman who they love to go in Demerara, politicians, incoming dignitaries would love to come and sit in her parlor and just talk. So she was, even though she was functionally illiterate, and I wonder how illiterate is illiterate. Because to me, she's really, 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 really smart, right?
Yeah.
She uses lawyers for everything. And she does this triple clip thing and all this sort of stuff. So I always wondered, did people just assume? Or that's why I say she was, if she wasn't, she was functional. Because the level of way she managed her businesses, the way she knew numbers, all these sorts of things. I put a question mark. That's what people have said in records. I can't find, Dorothy did not leave a diary behind, but she was an extremely smart woman and very great conversationalist. So
yeah, it seemed that she had to have been. I mean, she's so dynamic, so dynamic. Yeah, and that really comes across in the book too, is just that she is a powerhouse. Like, and I did appreciate in your author's note that you do say that you want to make sure that she is not superhuman, that you tried really hard to show her faults and her flaws, which I feel like you do. But there are just some people when you meet them, you're like, oh, wow. And
I think she was one of those.
Yeah.
Because even when she was poor, she was a magnet. And you see this, like I said, all these little anecdotal descriptions of her, and then the men as the I mean, a prince. Come on now.
Yeah. Yes.
So you get this picture of this woman who is in a lot of respects above and beyond what we would think of just a normal person during that time frame. Larger than life, I think, is a great way to describe her.
Yeah.
But that's just the showy side, and I believe there was a showy side, especially as she got more into fashions and things like that. She was known to be a dresser, so when she goes to London, having tailors come in and do all these different things, that's all true. So
I
she
wanted to
was a
ask
model
you
woman.
about the bonnets
Yes.
because you put in there multiple times that she's like, yeah, I got more. I've got a closet.
Well, two
Bonnet.
things. A little author embellishment. A little bit. But you get this picture that she was a fabulous dresser, and during those time frames, to make the woman, it's the hat and all these sorts of things. But as I'm also looking at the paintings of that time frame, I noticed something very, very important that had escaped me. Particularly the paintings done in Dominique. If you were enslaved, you wore scarves.
Mm-hmm.
If you were free, you actually wore a hat. And these hats are fabulous hats and different, but that's a marquee, and you can actually literally go through the paintings and you can pick out who's free, who's enslaved, just by looking for that detail.
Wow.
And as Dorothy becomes more worldly and she knows these different things, she's noticing these things, the hats become a symbol. And at first it's a goal. I want to wear a hat because I want to be free. And then after that, it's just a symbol of her power and her wealth. And
Mm-hmm.
so hats are very, very important. So now, after the intrusion, I'm going to have a closet full of hats. Because what are you going to do with a hat? You got to I literally, for this book, bought a bunch of hats. I when my mother passed, my mother was a hat person too. Especially the church hats. And I miss church hats where you used to go to church and be like, oh, bam.
Yeah.
So I bought a bunch of, you have to store those special. You can't just put them anywhere. I understand now why there's hat boxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got a box. You have to store. So if you have these people more with hats, you're going to have a way to store that. So I imagine this closet with just little sections you put out for all these little hats.
To be honest, my mom is also a hat woman, and I cannot tell you all of the different ways that she has come up with in my lifetime of trying to store her hats. Like, do you put them on the wall? Do you put them in the boxes? Certain ones have boxes so they don't get dust on them. Like, there's a whole thing. So, and I saw your, but right before Island Queen came out, I saw you had like these like countdown. You had all your different hats out. It was great.
Yes.
We do have a question. Anna wanted to ask, is the scarf the same as a turban?
No. Scarf would be more flat. Turbans are fixed. So they're they're formed and they're shaped, and they have like an inner body that goes around it. So it has structure. So when you take a turban off, it remains its structure. If you take off a scarf, it just flops down because the scarf needs your shape of your head in order to hold its form. Okay. So there's a distinction. And once again, if you look at these paintings, 1780s, 1790s, particularly from Dominique, you see it, and it's crystal clear, the differences.
We also just have a comment from Margaret just saying that the hat on the cover now means so much more.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. That's true. And of course, the Derby ascot crowds ain't got nothing.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. So to kind of go into the like writing arena here, how long did it take you to draft Island Queen?
Okay. I'm going to say something, but I'm going to back it up first. So
okay. We're going to have a little bit of preamble.
So it took 6 years to research this. Now, it wasn't constant, but 6 years of collecting bits here, in putting the narrative together. So by the time I sat down, I knew the narrative. So it only took about 7 months to write it. And there was an additional 2 months of revisions. So between 7 and 8 months total to write this book. Now that scares people because the original, it was at one point it was around 200,000 words. It got slimmed down to 156,000.
Yeah, it is a hefty book, but the way that you write, so for people who haven't, I won't spoil it, but I have tried to write a biography before, a fictional, like a historical fiction biography. It is so hard to do because people's lives don't follow a narrative arc. You manage to take one thing that she is attempting to do so that you do have a narrative arc. But you have like short little chapters that always have the place, the year, and then like a, I don't know, theme word. Yeah. But it was really helpful because there are so many locations. And I mean, just counting her kids alone, there are so many characters in this book.
Yes.
And I did notice in your author's note, you talk about how you did combine a couple people and change names just for clarity.
Yes.
I mean,
they repeat names a lot. Like there was, I want to say, there was like Anne and Anna and Annie and all these sorts of things. And I was like, I already got like 95 characters. I can't do that to y'all. So I would shorten it to their middle name. I would, just so that it would be clear. And I did think about putting a tree in that showed you the kids and the dad. But then I thought that would that's a spoiler. Or I'd have to use dotted lines for the couple cases.
Yeah, well, and especially in one particular case where she says the daddy is one guy, but you're pretty sure the guy it's actually this other guy. Yeah. And you're kind of like, well.
And that was to me, that spurred from looking at the dates. So I'm looking at these dates and I'm like,
yeah.
So.
Well, but you give a really compelling reason why she might do that in there too. Like I think that's one of the other things is that she's a mama. No matter what, she's a mama. She's a businesswoman, sure. Yeah, but mama first.
Yeah.
And I think you do.
Those were the vibes I got when I was putting this woman's life together. And then when you look at the dates and you find out this, these the background, and you're trying to make sense of it, because the thing is, like you said, Edie, people's lives are really messy and there's really no theme to it. And when we go into a narrative, you want to have a theme. You want to follow along. And I also knew that I had a lot of my romance readers coming to join me on this journey. And so, just seeing some helter-skelter story is not going to work. So I tried to connect the themes, and I wanted to make sure there were spots where you had enough context from real actual facts. Like Katerina was really kept by the cells.
Oh,
that's true, right?
Oh, and that just
yes. And it serves as a reminder that no matter how much freedom she had, she's still a woman of this time frame. Men have power over the children they claim, and even the ones they don't. Yeah. And so Sells, as being a powerful, rich man in the colonies, big man in the colonies, he could take the child. And literally the historical record shows Katerina stayed with Sells. Yet she goes on to Dominica to do the manumissions, and she ends up staying in Dominica. You explaining this narrative and why, and the character of this woman, I had this sense of, I knew she wrestled over it. I knew she was tormented by it, but you have to be true to the historical record as well as the power dynamics. She had no power.
Yeah.
And she wasn't technically free, because there's so many ramifications. If she tried to make a stink and to reclaim her child, she wasn't technically free.
Yeah.
Sells is claiming this child is his child. There's no court in the world will give an enslaved woman a baby over a free white man at that time frame. So it,
Yeah, for a long time, even women, regardless of free or not free, like they still wouldn't have gotten it because they would have no
power. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. So if you put same situation in London, England, and she, middle class, etc., or even coming from a good family, in London, she's a woman. Women have very little power. There's a caveat in London, though. Up to age 6, the woman could decide where the child's going to be, schooling, etc., etc. Once that child is breached or turns age 6, it's all on the husband. The husband or the father can say, the child is going here. He's got education. He's here. Women lose all control, all say in that matter. And so her doll struggle is one that's universal during this time frame. Hers just is a little bit more because she's technically still enslaved because she hadn't gone about, finishing up that manumissions at that point.
Yeah. I'm just going to put up a little spoiler alert here because I got to talk about it because towards the end, so spoiler alert, if you haven't read it, just mute it for a second. When I take off the little tag, you can bring back up. So in like 3/4 of the way through the book, she re-meets Katerina as an adult. I'm going to put that in like quotation.
Yeah, put it in quotes.
Because she is not really grown. She is not grown. Her brain is definitely like still like the 13-year-old girl. And she goes, did she really go after that guy? Oh. And there is this confrontation between Katerina and Doll where she says, Katerina's like, well, why can't you fight for me? And Doll has that whole thought process of like, I was enslaved. I was technically a runaway. Like, what did you expect me to do? But she doesn't actually say it. And I feel like that is the mama part of her, that she is still being a mama. Like, I can't defend you. I can't defend myself because I need you to be able to express.
Exactly.
So how much of the personality of Katerina did you?
It's kind of funny. You know that scene in Gone with the Wind where Rhett Butler takes Bonnie away and all these sorts of things. I had like a little bit of a Rhett Butler moment, right? So he's taking Bonnie away, but Bonnie still misses Scarlett, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But then I went even further. I was like, okay, you're a girl, you're a little girl, and all of a sudden the woman you think is your mother is not your mother. And then there's always this slight bit of, I hope a mother wouldn't do this, but I can see in these time frames that Sells' wife could be a little angry at him bringing this child, because at that point in time, they couldn't have children themselves. And you're saying this is my child, et cetera, et cetera. Part of her might have been really excited to have a baby of her own, et cetera, because that was a thing that was done. Yeah. But at another time, this isn't my child. And I could see when she had her own baby, there could be a difference. And it could come out in various ways. And this child being spoiled a little bit by Sells, and then Sells being Sells, traveling here and there, and she's being left with this mother, et cetera. I could see someone being resentful. I could see somebody being spoiled. And then those actions of getting involved with this older man and all this sort of stuff, when you're relatively a rebellious little teenager kind of thing, it just formed that to me spoke to who she was at that moment in time. And you layer in all the layers of guilt, you layer in all the things that was happening, and you get Katerina.
Oof.
And also, I know that in the will, she still get cut out again. She gets some clothes. She gets some clothes in the will. So once again,
she needs to behave.
So use lots of things to form people, and those are the various thoughts that went through my head when I was forming Katerina.
Okay, so we have so many things to talk about. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
And you talked about putting children in your books, and you talked about what could happen in London, which I assume is probably research, because I want to tell everybody how amazingly prolific you are. So this is just what she is putting out in 2021. And she's got 3 more coming out in 2022.
Yes.
Another historical fiction.
Yes.
The third in the Rogue
yes.
series.
Are you ready for this title? Okay, so we have a Duke, the lady, and the baby, an Earl, the girl, and a toddler. And then we had a title change because no one can spell Marquez. Nobody can do that. So we have a Duke, the spy, an artist, and a lie.
That's still a pretty good title.
Yes.
What was the original title?
A Marquez, an artist, and a baby maybe. But no one can spell. There's 2 acceptable forms.
Yeah.
Marquez. And then you have the other people who misspell both forms. So yeah. We live in unfortunately a searchable world where you have to think of SEO and all that fun stuff when you come up with titles.
I suppose so.
I know, it's sad, but everybody typically can spell that or get something close to it, and then Google will just help you to the right spot.
Well, especially if you just can put in like Duke book and like just yeah. Mm-hmm. So okay, so also to kind of get back, one of my favorite things is talking about how incredibly educated romance writers are. Mm-hmm. And you have some amazing qualifications that are non-writing qualifications, including, it looks like, is it a PhD from Stanford?
Yep, PhD in mechanical engineering, and also a master's in engineering management and industrial engineering from Stanford University. Both those are from Stanford. And then from Penn State, we have a master's and a bachelor's in mechanical engineering.
There you go. So not too shabby. So are you still writing all of these things and working a day job?
No, at this point I have my own consulting firm, and I'm the one you come when you have the contracts. Hey, how are you doing? Here's your customer support person. Call me if you have problems. Writing is becoming more and more, and we're very close to, if not full time. It feels really full time right now. It feels really full time.
Well, so you started. So how did your writing journey start? Let's start there. Where did it begin?
The beginning or publishing beginning?
Well, let's go with beginning. Why not?
Okay. So beginning, I always liked to write. I loved writing poems, and my mother, she made sure we read like really hard books. So, we're all Shakespeare and Wadsworth and Thoreau and all these other fun things, all the formative books that you need. And very big in history. And I get to this woman called Jane Austen, and I'm like, this is some good stuff. Look at this. This is great stuff. And I'm loving it. And then I get to her final book, which is Sanditon. And the wealthiest woman in the book is this mulatto woman from the West Indies. And I'm like, it makes sense now. It makes sense. Because, prior to Jane Austen, Regency romance didn't exactly exist because she's a contemporary artist talking about it. But it wasn't exactly diverse. And so I love these books. I love these titles, but you don't really see, I want to marry a duke too.
Yeah.
I want that. But you didn't really see all of that. And my mom, she's like, you're gifted in math and you're gifted in writing. But baby, you always need to pay the bills. So it's a no-brainer because, a full-time career, it looked like very few. It happened to very few people, but I knew a few engineers and whatnot. And so it was a much more tangible path. And you know what? Mother is completely right. Engineering pays those bills. So tell all your children, your grandchildren, go stick with the math, guys. It works. Engineering is need you, computer programming, all that kind of fun stuff is good stuff. But when you are writing, writing scientific journals on the martensitic transformation of chromium metals is not as fulfilling as you would think.
It's probably not a lot of a narrative arc with the chromium metals, is my guess.
Yeah. So you're looking for writing, and I had a little bit of a difficult pregnancy, and the doctor said, you have to sit down and do nothing for the next 4 months. I'm like, what? What do you mean do nothing? I can't do nothing. What are you talking about? I can't do nothing. And my husband, who walked on eggshells at this moment in time, brought a box of my notebooks from high school. And he's like, here, organize these, dear. I'm going to be on the other side of the house now.
Yeah. Here. I have the
same. You find these notebooks and I find these stories. Like, hey, this was not bad. I bet you I can do it better. So I started writing. And that story actually ended up being my very first published book, traditionally published book, called Madeline's Protector. And Madeline's Protector was a book that I whitewashed myself. I took all aspects of color out of this book. I had she was distant Spanish, I think was the closest representation in that book. Because it was difficult in those days. And we're talking about 2012 to get published. And there are agents and whatnot who said it would never happen. And so now, being the stubborn individual that I am, I must prove you wrong. And so I'm going to do what's necessary to get published. And I got published and I got an agent and we're off to the races. But I'm not exactly writing what I want to write. And so as I start introducing more diversity into my books, in my topics, we get the best rejection letters I have ever seen in my entire life. We love Vanessa's writing. Does she have anything else? This is so great.
That's exactly what all my rejection letters look like. Too. Let me know when you write something else. I'll be curious. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know what you do with that, right? It's like, you like my writing, you like the story, but it's not the story you want to publish. What do I do with this? And so you have to take a moment back. And the thing is, they're being honest.
Yeah.
First of all, everybody has to realize not all books are meant to be traditionally published. And the worst thing in the world you can ever do is accept a traditional contract and they don't know how to market your material. And then when you don't get sales, they look at you and say it was your work. No, it was your lousy marketing that, contributed to my lousy book doing lousy.
Yeah.
It's a partnership, buddy. So, my agent and I, we talked through this, and you have to, once again, you have to prove people wrong or prove yourself right. I needed to prove that there really was a market, that people were interested in stories that had characters of all types of backgrounds, all types of ethnicities set in this Regency, and more so written by a Black woman, because that was also a caveat. But I'm not the first Black woman to write Regency. I'm just one of the first ones to put characters of color. Eva Rutland wrote a number of Regencies, but she wasn't able to put her face in the back of the book. Which is a crying shame, but it's the times that we live in. And so I indie published a book called The Bargain. It was a novella because, I was like, I don't want to put a lot of money into this if it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
So it's The Bargain. It was a novella. I spent money on editing and great cover. And at this point, my budget is tapped out. So I just put it up on Amazon and I'm like, okay.
Which is kind of how all self-publishing does feel, like where you're like, and now what happens?
Exactly. And I believe I was at a conference, Romantic Slam Jam in Texas, so my big debut, et cetera, et cetera. And within 2 weeks, I'd sold about 1,000 copies.
Wow.
No advertisement. Like I said, I went to this conference and I had a little table, little signing table. Please come buy my book. Buy my book. Here's cupcakes. I was bribing people back then. Please come put cupcakes on my table. But it could, if anything, it reconvinced me that there were other people who wanted, not just my mama, there were other people who wanted to read these stories, and it kept you going. And so but then this other thing happened. Where's the next one? Oh, you wanted more. I guess it was a novella, my bad. So that whole year I spent playing catch up, releasing these 15 to 30,000 word novellas in this series. And I think it helped me learn to write fast.
Because you had a bunch. Really, you ended up with, let's see, I made a graphic for this too. So you have so you have the Bargain series, and there are 4 in that.
4 in that.
Challenge of the Soul series, there's 4 in there.
Mm-hmm.
Advertisements for Love series, it looked like 4 and a novella is what it looked like. So maybe like 4.5 there.
4.5.
And Rogues and Remarkable Women, that's the one we were talking about earlier. And so there will be 3. There's 2 now.
Yes.
1 more. And then our little thing is obscuring it. But then also you have on there for 2022 a Lady Worthington mystery.
Yes. So
and that's just your series, not counting your standalones.
Yes.
And then the historical fiction, the Island Queen, and then you have another one. What was the name of the next one? The
Sister Mother Warrior?
Yes. And then there's that one that's coming out in 2022.
Yes. Oh, Advertisement Love. Is that the one with the missed connections for the Regency? I think so. Advertisements for Love. That's the one where they're writing the letters. So they're putting true fact. And this is so. I'm somewhat becoming an expert on the time frame between 1750 and 1830, and so I'm like this. I'm walking around with all these facts, and then some facts end up in what we call the biographical fictions, which are power women who've been forgotten about, that we're bringing back, like Dorothy Kerwin Thomas and Island Queen. Sister Mother Warrior is focused on the 2 women who shaped the Haitian Revolution. So
I have so many questions about that, but I feel like that's really just because I'm curious and not because it's a good interview.
But then I get these. But I just finished Sister Mother Warrior, and Haiti becomes free about 1805. And I do this, I'm in this world, I'm doing this research, and I find this fact that all the abolition movements in the world stopped in 1805 after Haiti becomes free. Wilberforce is struggling in London because nobody wants to talk about abolition. It's all dead.
Huh.
So people were good with freeing folks.
Yeah.
But the minute you want to run a country, no, boys and girls, we got to back off. And to me, that is like one of the most interesting side note facts that I'd found in a long time.
Yeah.
And so I have this picture starting in 1806, because 1806, guys, is the year of everything. You have Lord Nelson has died in the Battle of Trafalgar. He has a state funeral in January of 1806. Then like 2 months later, the prime minister dies. And he was the guy working with Wilberforce who he kind of prioritized what he was going to push for. Abolition was the last thing on the list, and they were getting ready to do that. And he's dead. So you got all these contributing factors. England is in turmoil. They're mourning, Lord Nelson. Abolition is dead. Wilberforce, Hannah More, all these people are like freaking out. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to get the population going again. I thought, I can't quite use that in the romance series or this, because this is too great of a fact. This is when you're a historian. Just you come across some really cool stuff that just get your mind going. And so now I have this series, Lady Worthing's Mysteries. She is a baroness. She's of mixed race. Her husband is an explorer. He actually served under Lord Nelson, but he's out exploring the world. We don't know if he's alive, but he's out exploring the world. And Lady Worthing wants to get abolition moving again. She wants to use her new title and her position, but she has to be very careful because she's precarious, because she's a mixed race, and the world is like it's persona non grata right now if you talk about abolition. So she's got to be very careful. And she may have gotten married because she saved her Lord Worthing from a murder rap, because she's a little bit of an amateur detective kind of thing. And she's fighting with her neighbor, who is this incredibly handsome fellow, mysterious, but they're fighting right now because he's putting up a fence because she believes his greyhounds are attacking or threatening her terrier. You know, it's the other way around, but you know. Yeah. And so he's overreacted, and so he's constructing this fence down the way, and lo and behold, his estranged wife, who was supposed to be going to get a divorce in Scotland, ends up dead on the fence, on her side of the fence.
Oh,
so she's got to figure this out so that she doesn't she's not goes down for this. And at the same time, you know, you got the neighbor who's fighting, who's created an alibi that kind of gives you an alibi because you said you were somewhere that you couldn't quite prove. Because you might have been attending a secret meeting for abolition, and you can't
talk about that.
You can't talk about that, you know. So, but anyway, so that's Lady Worthing, and hopefully it'll be a lovely long-running series of just bananas type stories that are just cool and historical.
That sounds amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and I gotta say, Margaret, she's always good with the hashtags. But yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Hashtag, I like hashtag handsome neighbor. Yep.
There we go. Yes. And if your handsome neighbor might be Moriarty, you never know how much it could be. It could be fun.
That is great.
So
and
that's my banana series. I cannot wait for it to come. Lady Worthing, no ton. I say it, but Worthing, no ton.
Lady Worthing. Okay.
Lady Worthing.
Yeah, no, I love all of this. So I guess we're kind of running out of time, so I don't want to get too much into something else, because we're just having such a wonderful conversation. So you also, with Island Queen and with Mother Sister Warriors, you have those are already optioned for film as well.
Not Mother Sister Warrior, but okay. Island Queen is.
Island Queen is. Okay. Yes. I probably read your website incorrectly. And the woman who plays
Adjua. Oh, so let me help you out here. So, when the announcement was made in Publishers Weekly that William Morrow was going to publish Island Queen, we had about 8 studios right off the bat. We want the manuscript. We want to look at this. Yada 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 yada. It sounds amazing. There was no manuscript. Nothing to give anybody. So my agent was like, hold that thought. Let's give her a minute and I'll be back to you. So 8 months later, manuscript is in, et cetera, et cetera. We send it back out. And a team called Longboat Productions, which is Victoria Fee, who, for those know ITV in the UK, they did Victoria and a whole bunch of things on that side. She's partnered with a woman named Julie Ann Robinson, who is the Netflix executive director, Emmy nominated director. That's her partner. They fell in love at manuscript stage. So they actually optioned it at manuscript stage.
Wow.
And Adjoa Andoh, she actually does the audio. Well, she fell in love with the book doing the audio. And because Adjoa and Julianne worked together, they all huddled up together. And so now the three of them are producing. And hopefully we shall hear something in the new year about what network, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I gotta say, I knew that she was interested because I saw an article about it. Actually, I do remember, because we have been a part of Regency Fiction Writers together for so long, and your name always pops up. You know, in the little digest that comes out, and you always see the same people coming up over and over again. You and Nancy, and you know, everyone's always out there. Yeah, so you know, it's just one of those things that you just have those names in your brain. And I saw the Island Queen come up, and I remember being really excited about it. I'm like, oh, that's so cool, that's so cool. And then seeing a little bit later, and there was a picture of her. I'm reluctant to say her name out loud because I'm going to butcher it, and so I apologize in advance. But yeah, I just remember being so excited, and then reading this book, especially in Dahl's, when she gets a little curmudgeonly. There are times when she's just like not having it, just not. Yes, and just see her, just because of her portrayal of Lady
Dansbury.
I can like see that same sort of like laser ire that she just gets, you know. I could really see that. I bet that's a book.
The thought it would be like The Crown. So there would be Dolly, there would be Dahl, and then there would be Dorothy. So I definitely see her as Dorothy.
Oh yeah.
But Dolly and Dahl, those are going to be probably unknown actresses that just have to bring it. When they show up on the screen, they just lightning bolts happen and all that kind of thing. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
And I gotta say, one of the things that always strikes me, so sorry, I'm just gonna go right back to Island Queen because it's just so good. One of the things that I've just noticed in life is that a lot of times the women who are the most magnetic are not always the prettiest. I mean, they're pretty, yes, but they're not always like out of the room. They have this other weird thing.
There's just a fire somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So it's somebody whose personality has to radiate.
Yeah.
You know, they just, radiate as soon as they walk in there, and you just see it. And it's like you're saying, it's beyond beauty. It is something that's magnetic, and I would love to see that person. It's kind of like if you did watch Netflix and the Duke rolls up, everybody's like, yes, we completely understand casting now.
Yeah,
we get it, right?
Yeah.
So I see someone magnetic just lights the screen up. That would be my hope, and it's one of the things I can't wait to see it, because I think it's going to be powerful. Because you've never seen anything like that before.
Mm-mm.
You know, a completely integrated cast, where there is enslavement, but you see them going beyond enslavement, and you see just this full growing of this person and gaining of new agency, and using this agency to help or to be trifling, because sometimes
there's a little bit of that too.
Sometimes you had to be trifling.
Yeah. Well,
the agency to be trifling, I think, is important.
Yeah. So you can see when the ones that aren't. That actually is the other thing we didn't even get around to talking about. So much to talk about. But you do address colorism in here too a couple of times. And I thought one of the really great things, again, sorry, spoiler, towards the end of the book, the ladies of the Entertainment Society, and how they start off with that viewpoint because she is so dark. And then they kind of get over themselves and they form this really strong bond. Uh,
Mhm.
but I thought that was interesting that that is something that she carries with her for a long time.
Yeah. You know, with the Caribbean, colorism is a really huge thing, and it's all because of the way the power structure is made. More often than not, mulatto women gain their freedom much more so than darker skinned or black women did. The closer agency you got to white, the more power, acceptability, etc. And you see, planters affording education to their enslaved children, freeing their enslaved children, et cetera, in a bigger scale in the West Indies than you see other places. So it's a different place, and just the laws themselves support colorism in a lot of respects. Particularly, I just did this body of work in Santo Domingo, and they literally have three classes of people. Or you have well, actually several. The Grand Blancs, which are the richest of society, Petit Blancs, which are your tradesmen. Then you have colored affranchi, which are free colored people, which are the mulattoes. Then you have free blacks, and then you have the enslaved, which are at the bottom. And everybody's jockeying to get up to the top, but they're all very conscious, and it's really colorized. The aesthetics of beauty within Santo Domingo are more, the people are found more beautiful the lighter their skin they are, and it's a prevalent thing in the politics and the classes, and it goes back to how people can become free in these places. So it's another thing that I don't know has been really described or talked about. When I originally found Dorothy, I found her as part of a drawing by a guy named Gilroy, who is not the most happy person in the world. Gilroy's, kind of misogynistic and special, and you know, he loves to torment women in drawings. And if he gets a chance to do a black woman, he's going to double down. So not only will we be looking desperate and homely, but we're going to be illiterate with big ugly features and all these things. 'Cause that's the kind of guy Gilroy is. But when he draws this picture of Prince William Henry, he's lovingly embracing this black woman. The black woman is drawn beautifully. So
Mm-hmm.
she's not the tattle. I mean, she's not the joke. She's the tattle. This is what your prince has been doing in the West Indies. And
Oh,
so I knew this woman in the picture had to be a real person, and that started me on the quest, et cetera, et cetera. But even I thought this woman, even he drew, because he drew her as a darker complected woman. I assumed because of the access to the royalty, the power levels, I assumed she was going to be a fair skinned mulatto woman.
mm-hmm.
Nope. She was mulatto, but she was not fair skinned.
So this is in the author's note in the back of Island Queen. So this is the drawing that Vanessa is talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it does. It looks like a very loving, not lurid. It actually looks very genuine, you know.
Mm-hmm. Which, once again, if you look at Gilroy, just type in Gilroy and you go to images on Google, you'll see that is one of the tamer versions of anything he's drawn. It's different than just about everything he's drawn, because he loves to make jokes about women, all women, anytime we're in there. So you find this woman, and with the level of agency I was learning about this, until I found descriptions of her, never could quite find a painting, and I know there's probably one somewhere.
There's got to be one somewhere.
It's got to be one.
It's probably mislabeled somewhere. Like I, in my own research, I found that a lot is that they label things weird, and you're like, that has nothing to do with what this is about. Why would you? Of course, no one can find this.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
somewhere, it's probably somewhere out there.
Yeah.
As well as the silver plate. The silver plate that was engraved for her is somewhere out there in the world. No one at this moment in time knows where, but it's somewhere out there in the world. At least I hope not melted down, and which could have happened, it was a long time ago. I would
Yeah.
hope not. But yeah, so colorism is a very big thing, and being able to describe it the inequity of it and how she overcomes that, and the reluctance she has because I assumed that she'd been taunted, because jealous people exist everywhere, and they know that she's Massa's daughter and she has some privileges that they don't necessarily have. So I can see them teasing her and whatnot. And she holds, as a child, you will hold that teasing. We all hold
Yeah.
whatever we carried along. And so I wanted to convey that in the most honest way and reflect it when it comes back to these different stories. Um, Good question.
Oh man. Okay. Well, we've now chatted for about an hour. So I know I've had a great time. I hope everybody else has had a great time. Um, so yeah, I guess if just thank you so much for coming on. This has been a really, really wonderful conversation.
Excellent. Have me back. This is lovely. Paper Lanterns is cool. And Edie, you're great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I will be seeing you at the end of the month because I'm giving a presentation for Regency fiction writers on the 23rd. So there you go.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
Let's see. It looks like we've got a couple of comments here. Just, yeah, so impressed on so many levels. Yeah. And great interview. Anyway, yeah, no, it's been wonderful. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. This is my pleasure. Have me back. This is a lot of fun. And thank you, studio audience.
Yeah. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. And of course, you can always access this again on YouTube and on our Facebook group, Shine. I want to let you guys know that we do have more stuff coming up. We are going to be talking food on our Instagram Live on October 20th, which is, of course, 10 days from now on the next Wednesday. That will be on Instagram Live. You'll find me over on Paper Lantern Writers. And then next month, we are going to chat with Eva Lay. She has written a couple of different books. Waiting for a Scot Like You, I think, is her most recent. Very excited to talk about her books because they always have a modern edge to it. So we can talk about modern readers and historical settings. So you can join us for that November 7th, the first Sunday of the month. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a great time, and I will see you hopefully next Wednesday. All right. Bye.